play a game of Ruin, you're going to need a few things. A 40 to 50 card deck, along with a Guardian card. Something to keep track of your life, and lastly, something to keep track of your resources, which are used to play cards or use their abilities to win the game. When playing a game of Ruin, there are 3 types of cards to consider: a Guardian, creatures, and supporters. Let's go over Guardians. Each Guardian has a type, which can have an impact on the game, and determines which cards can be played in the deck. All Guardians have an ability which is active from the start of the game. Some Guardians will have a constant ability, which is always active. Others will have an ability you can use during your turn, or when the ability states you can use it. A Guardian is in play from the beginning of the game, and remains there until the game is over. Guardians all have a set amount of health, that number usually being 100, but at times can differ. After both players' Guardians have been brought into play, the player going first starts the game off with 2 resources, and the player going second starts with 3. Resources are used to play creatures from your hand, or to activate certain card abilities. Next, each player draws 5 cards from the top of their deck. Once, at the start of the game, each player can choose up to 5 cards in their hand to shuffle into their deck, and then draw the same number of cards. During each player's turn, there are 7 stages. Beginning stage initiates the start of your turn. Next is your resource stage. Here, you will gain 2 resources. Keep in mind, a player can only have 12 resources. If a player has 12 when entering this stage, they do not gain any resources. If a player has no resources when entering this stage, they gain 3 instead of 2. Next is your draw stage. During this stage, you draw 1 card from the top of your deck. You can only have 7 cards in your hand at any given time. Any cards you would attempt to draw after 7 are sent to the graveyard immediately. Now, we have the first stage. During this stage, you have the option to play or conceal cards from your hand, or use cards' abilities. There are 2 types of cards you can have in your deck. The first type of card we'll be going over is a creature. You can only have 3 copies of the same creature in your deck. There are 10 things to consider when looking at a creature: their name, Guardian restriction, radiation level, resource cost, sacrificial resource cost, type, strength, health, trait, and ability. The creature's type is used to categorize it. Not every creature has a Guardian restriction, but if they do, a Guardian restriction restricts creatures to be played in the deck with a Guardian of the same type. Keep in mind, Guardian restriction can be different from a creature's type. Next, we'll be going over resource cost. Say you want to play a creature from your hand. If a creature costs 3 resources, you'll have to pay 3 resources to play that creature from your hand. There are several ways to play a creature. You can play a creature in your offense row, or your defense row. You can also conceal a creature in your defense row. A creature cannot be played the turn it was concealed. A creature can be moved to a different row once per turn, but not the turn they were played, or if they attacked that turn. Here we will be going over sacrificial resource cost. When a resource cost is read, you must use other creatures you control as payment. You must select creatures one at a time until the required amount of resources needed to play that creature is met. Creatures used as payment are sent to the graveyard, and this is not considered being destroyed. You cannot use red resources as payment for a sacrificial play. Now we'll be going over supporters. There are 2 things to look at when considering a supporter for your deck: its type and its Guardian restriction, if it has one. Similar to creatures, you can only have 3 copies of the same supporter in your deck. Supporters can be played from your hand or concealed in your defense row. Supporters can't be played the turn they were concealed. After a supporter has been played, it is sent to the graveyard. After your first stage, you have your conflict stage. During this stage, creatures in your offense row can engage in conflict. If there are no creatures in your opponent's territory, you can attack your opponent's Guardian directly. When a Guardian is successfully attacked, it loses health equal to the strength of the attacking creature. Let's say your opponent has a creature in their defense row. If they do, you cannot attack the opposing Guardian directly. You can ignore creatures in your opponent's offense row when attacking if you choose to do so. If your opponent has multiple creatures in play, you can choose which creature to attack. Now, we will be going over creature-to-creature conflict. The creature being attacked will always lose 1 health. But if the attacking creature has a strength lower than or equal to the creature it's attacking, the attacking creature also loses 1 health. For each point of health the creature loses, it is turned 90 degrees to the right. When a creature's health reaches 0, it is sent to the graveyard. When 2 creatures do battle, The creature with the lower strength will have the difference subtracted from their guardian's health. An attacking creature does not lose health if its strength is greater than the creature it's attacking. Say you have a creature concealed in your defense row. Before damage is applied, you can reveal a creature in response to a direct attack on your guardian to redirect the attack to the revealed creature. A guardian does not take damage involving a creature in your defense row. Lastly, creatures in your defense row cannot attack. The second stage has all of the same properties as the first stage. The end stage is the end of your turn. Next, we're going to talk about creature traits and supporter types. First, let's go over creature traits. As of now, there are 7 different traits: neutral, resilience, threat, utility, resistance, reach, lifesteal, and malice. Neutral creatures do not have any special mechanics. Creatures with resilience do not lose health when battling a creature with strength lower than its own. When a creature with threat does battle with a creature that has strength lower than or equal to its own, immediately destroy the opposing creature after damage is applied. This is still considered being destroyed by conflict and not by a card ability. Normal rules of conflict apply when the opposing creature has greater strength than the creature with threat. After a utility creature has been brought into play, it can attach itself to a creature in play. It is now treated as a supporter, but does not occupy a zone in play. If a creature's radiation level reaches 100, it would normally be destroyed. Resistance creatures cannot be destroyed in this way. Creatures with reach can attack the opposing guardian directly, even if there is a creature in the opposing defense row. The only exception to this rule is if your opponent has a creature with reach in their defense row, in which case you cannot attack the opposing guardian directly. When a creature with lifesteal inflicts combat damage to your opponent, your guardian gains health equal to the amount of damage inflicted. When a creature with malice does battle with another creature, the opposing creature is immediately destroyed after damage is applied. This is still considered being destroyed by conflict and not by a card ability. Now we'll be looking at supporter types. There are 5 different types of supporters: neutral, utility, constant, counter, and tactical. Every supporter is either spell speed 1 or 2. What this basically means is a spell speed 2 supporter can be used to respond to things, whereas a spell speed 1 supporter can only be played during your first or second stage, when it states you can use it or when it activates. All supporters can be played or concealed from your hand into your defense row. When a supporter is concealed similar to a creature, it must be down for a full turn before being played. A neutral supporter can only be played during your first or second stage. A utility supporter is played from your hand into your defense row, then attached to a creature in play. When a constant is played, it remains in play instead of being sent to the graveyard. A counter must be concealed for a full turn before being played. Tacticals can be played at any time except from your hand on your opponent's turn. Now we'll be going over general terms and additional rules of the game. The player going first cannot attack during the first turn of the game. Zones are individual spaces on the terrain. Anytime a card includes the term adjacent, it's referring to the zone to the left or right of the card. Before damage is applied or after damage is applied refers to before or after an attack is successful. Cards cannot be played in or moved to a zone occupied by another card. A creature can have any number of utilities attached to it. Anytime you search your deck, you must shuffle your deck afterwards. When a card ability has a cost to use or activate, you must always pay the cost even if the card or ability is negated. A clone is an exact copy of a card it targets. It is a type of token. If a token would be sent to the graveyard, it's removed from play instead. If a creature is silenced, it cannot use its ability. If a creature is stunned, it cannot attack or move rows. A creature can have a subtype where its trait is located. The creature is treated as having 2 types in this case. When a card is concealed, all changes of the card are removed. A deck must contain anywhere from 40 to 50 cards. A guardian's health can go above 100 if increased by a mechanic or card ability. There are 6 individual zones in which you can play cards, 3 in your offense row and 3 in your defense row.